Welcome to Missing the Point. Guess what? Throwing you a curveball. That's a baseball reference. That's nomenclature from the baseball world. We're not doing baseball today. That's second curveball, strike two. We're doing football again. Got to talking in the group chat about best case scenarios for our respective NFL teams. So Mike and I thought we'd put a little show on to kind of, God, Mike, but I think I just had a trauma response when I said little show of like Vic Michaels being like, don't say little. You're giving him the whole song. You're not giving him the.
I think he loved you though.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but it was an abusive, toxic relationship. For those not in the know, we're talking about our old radio teacher, which really us meeting on the radio show in college is why we do this. So the etymology of the show is important. It's the lore, it's the lore of missing the point. But anyway, all digressions aside, we got to talking about what our dream off seasons would be for our respective teams. Mine being the Chicago Bears, his being the New England Patriots. We were going to try and include Bobby to do a little Dallas Cowboys off season preview, which we would have loved because I would have spent the whole show being like, what are you going to do about Dak Prescott? Because he's just not your dude, So that would have been fun to just sort of bully Bobby for a few minutes, but he's got real adult shit to deal with. So we left him to it, and it's just the Bears and the Pats today. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, Mike, because what you don't realize when you set up the premise of a show where you say like, yeah, let's just talk about our best case scenario off seasons is there's so many positions on a football team. And when you're a fan of the Chicago Bears, you come to quickly realize that your fantasy offseason would replace 98% of the players that play those positions. So we're going to do this in a realistic fashion. Like no one's going to go and get, like someone that's unavailable. If you want to trade for someone, you got to put together a realistic trade package. I'm not trading for anyone, so I don't know if you are. I'm just doing free agency and drafts. So if Mike, you're doing trades, you got some stuff going on. The packages are going to have to be somewhat realistic, but it is your best case scenario. So like, I would imagine you're going to win these trades, but it's not going to be something insane. Like we've traded Nelson Aguilar to the Kansas City Chiefs for Pat Mahomes straight up. So
wait, that's not an option.
Cross that one off. I'm not allowing it. I know.
That was there goes the entire show.
That was good prop work right there. So moving on, I'm gonna do the Bears. You're gonna do the Pats. I'm gonna start just to get this shit out of the way because I have to get through every position on a football team, with the exception of quarterback, because you may or may not know, long-time listeners of this show may or may not know, I'm a big Justin Fields guy.
Are you, Dave?
We shan't be trading Justin Fields like some of the boob talking heads out there on four-letter networks have been proposing. That's not going to happen. I don't want to draft Bryce Young. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that first overall pick that Lovie Smith so graciously went and won us in the last game of the season, and I'm going to trade that to, drum roll, it's actually anticlimactic. I'm going to trade it to the Colts, which is what everyone expects to happen. But I do like the haul the best. People have floated the Panthers. They floated a couple other, the Texans would be embarrassing for them, but like maybe, to go down to 2. We don't need to be at 1. We don't need to be at 2. We don't need to be at 3. We need to draft Will Anderson at 4. And for all you Jalen Carter fans, it's not because he murdered somebody by racing his car last night. It's not because of that. I don't think that's going to help his draft stock. Obviously, that's not the priority of a tragedy like that. But
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think it's going to hurt his draft stock?
I think it might hurt his draft stock slightly. Okay. And I have a little bit of a what if scenario coming up, because I'm going to do the draft first, then I'm going to sign some free agents, then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you what you think that Bears team looks like next season once I've built it for you in your mind's eye. So we're going to draft Will Anderson because we desperately need help at the edge rushing position. Now, just to save us time, we desperately need help everywhere. So I'm not going to keep saying that every time I improve a position. But what I do believe is you can build a defense in today's NFL around an edge rusher. I think what used to be a fast outside linebacker like a Brian Urlacher type in the context of the Chicago Bears, a guy that could drop back into cover 2, but also apply pressure on the quarterback when needed and stop the run. As in my opinion, one of the best run stoppers in the history of the National Football League from the linebacker position. I think that position's involved, and I think everyone that watches the NFL can see that. Will Anderson's a great edge rusher coming out of Alabama. I don't know about you, but I just like getting guys from Alabama. They always seem like a little taller than everyone else, to weigh about 20 pounds more than everybody else.
Weird.
Whatever the position is, they always just seem, they seem like they know what they're doing down there when it comes to football in Alabama. So I like that pick. Now, that's not to say that Jalen Carter is not going to be a great defensive tackle in the NFL, but we're also going to get the 35th pick from the Colts, and we're going to get a first round pick and a second round pick in 2024. So that's a haul, right? That's 4 picks, 2 this year, 2 next year. We're not going to deal with next year's picks, but I think with that 35th pick, we could potentially get Jalen Duncan, who's an offensive tackle, which is it's not a pretty position to sign. It's not glamorous. It's not sexy, but you need it. And the Bears desperately need it. I said I wasn't going to keep repeating that, but it's true of everywhere. and I am desperate. But also, like, how far is Jalen Carter going to drop? Because of that whole thing. Because it's pretty fresh. I don't know where it's going to be. Are we going to get him for the 4th pick in the second round or the 35th overall pick? I don't think so. But if he's still there, I think we should draft Jalen Carter, because then we get them both. And that's what I would do in Madden. So I don't know why it's so hard to do in IRL. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think if that's the case, then I think we go get what's his knuckles, Jalen Duncan at offensive tackle, because we need to spruce some things up there. 3rd and 4th round picks, no specific names, but we definitely, I think, should go take a punt on an athletic corner, maybe an athletic strong safety. I think we have a good kind of group of really young guys in the secondary, and I think 1 or 2 will emerge as really good. I think that we have Jalen Johnson at quarterback. It's like our one really like solid good player, but he's a little injury prone. I think Kyler Gordon, or any of these guys, any of these young guys can maybe pop up and have a really big season for us next season, especially if they're put in a defensive core where we go and make actual improvements. What I don't want is I don't want to take punts at the linebacker position. So free agency, right off the bat, we go get Bobby Okereke at linebacker. He used to play for Matt Eberflus already. And we're going to partner him with Quan Alexander from the Jets, because we got $100 million in salary cap. So sky's the limit. And we just build that linebacker core right there. They're going to complement each other beautifully. They've played in Okereke's played in an Eberflus system before. And you can sort of just use him as you bring in a guy from where he used to be, and you use him as a central point to start building the defense around. He's not lights out, but he's young. And there's going to be a theme. Everybody I get is young. Everybody I get is 27 or younger. Everyone, because we're already a young team. So you got to just start right there. He's young. He's cheap. Same with Quan Alexander. He's a little bit more expensive, but he's also, it's not break the bank type numbers, and you can go get him, and then bang, you have your linebacker core. Fucking easy. Now, the bad news is I really wanted Daron Payne, but fucking Washington franchise tagged him. So he's off the fucking board. Draymond Jones is my backup at defensive tackle. It saves you from having to draft Jalen Carter. I think there's a lot of talent in defensive tackle in this free agent market. I think there's a few guys we could go get, but edge rusher is so much more rare to have a Nick Bosa, these aren't guys you can just go find. It's not something you do that people can just do. So I think we get Will Anderson as a chance. He's Nick Bosa for the Bears. Maybe, but you gotta try on that. You gotta throw a little bit of a Hail Mary. I mean, it's an educated guess, but for free agency signings, I just think you can go get defensive tackles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We pepper the line with a couple of good defensive tackle signings built around that big signing in Draymond Jones. we're gonna definitely have to. I mean, I am bummed about Deron Payne, honestly, because I was kind of like really hoping that we could just build our entire defense around him. But I think the next best, we'll be able to get. We have to improve our defensive line, which I told you. Orlando Brown Jr., Mike McGlintley. It's a hard name for me to say. He's a Notre Dame boy though, so he's not going to mind going from San Francisco to the Midwest again. He's used to the cold. So Indiana, Chicago, same fucking difference. They're right next to each other. Ben Powers, and this is going to be our new look offensive line to actually protect Justin Fields, who got fucking eviscerated for the last 2 seasons, which, I mean, it's unsurprising because there's absolutely nobody on the fucking team that can actually protect him. And I think that our center, who got hurt last year, got hurt in the actual first game, and didn't play all year. Harris comes back and he actually plays center for us. We cut Cody Whitehair, save $5 million there, and we have a new look offensive line. You keep Cole Kmet at tight end. He's got good good receiving numbers. Now, the big question: weapons for Justin Fields. That's a tougher ask, okay? Because this isn't a wide receiver rich free agency. A lot of people are calling for Michael Thomas from the Saints, signing for $10 million or something like that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I don't. Yeah, well, I mean, I think people want him because they remember. This is the thing with wide receivers is if you've had 3 bad seasons on the bounce, but you had 2 good seasons before that, people think of you as the guy of the 2 good seasons when your name pops up in the free agency. And he was good.
But quick question though.
Yeah.
When you say bad seasons, statistically, when he was on the field, he was still good. He just wasn't on the field.
I say bad seasons in the sense that you couldn't rely on him. Now,
okay.
I think we've already been down that road at wide receiver. And I think we already have a couple of questions at the wide receiver position, most notably Chase Claypool. What does he look like once he learns the X's and O's? I think I'm positive on him. I've seen him be talented. He's young. I've seen his talent, and I've seen him be skillful. He barely got any targets when he came in because he dropped in the middle of the season with a 22-year-old quarterback, now 23-year-old quarterback. So you got to give him a full season. Do I think he's a wide receiver 1? No, I don't. But without trading for Tyler Higbee, which I'm sure you're going to try to do, or DeAndre Hopkins, which I'm sure you're going to try to do, and making that big splash, I think the next logical course is to build a good, smart, young wide receiver core to help Justin Fields and give him a lot of time to go find him. You have to remember, Cole Kmet, good pass catcher, got better towards the end of the season. Another thing I'm going to do is re-sign David Montgomery. I think he helps Justin Fields. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of paying running backs, but I think we can get him for 14. If we get him for 14, people are saying 17 to 20, but I think we can bring him back for 14. If we can do that, that's not crazy. He's not getting paid quite as much as, your Joe Mixons, but he's getting paid a little bit more than your Leonard Fournettes, which is about where I think David Montgomery should be. I think the reason you bring him back is because he has hands that are a lot better than Khalil Herbert's. I think Khalil Herbert might be a little bit of a better runner, especially in the open field, but Montgomery's got pass catching ability that you can't afford to lose with a young quarterback. And I hate to admit this because I don't like re-signing running backs. I think there's a billion of them, but I think that they know each other and you got to give them that chance. Then, and this might be just to stick it to the Packers, but you go get Lazard. A lot of people are down on him.
Not
Allen.
Mike, dude. Like, that's just to stick it to the Packers.
No. I think he's good. I think he's genuinely good. I think that people are a little down on him because he maybe has some loose lips locker room wise. It's not great how he left Green Bay. Like, even if you're like, I'm fucking done, I think there's a way to do it. But he did do it to the Packers, so that makes me happy. So I'm happy to have him come to Chicago as an extra fuck you. And he's a guy who played with Aaron Rodgers. So you can, that's helpful for a quarterback like Justin Fields, as long as they can like sort of get along and stay on the same page. I know that most Bears fans are probably screaming right now saying, why aren't we, if this is even a hypothetical, why aren't we going to get your DeAndre Hopkins of the world, or your T Higginses of the world. And quite frankly, it's because we don't have anything to fucking give up for him unless we're giving up draft capital. And I would rather spread those picks out and get solid guys because, like I said at the start of the fucking podcast, we have a lot of work to do in a lot of areas. And I genuinely think if we have an ace off season like this, we could be good right away. I'm not saying we're going to be like perennial contenders for the next 5 years starting next season, but I think we can be good right off the bat, especially if Fields makes another leap, right? So at this point, you got your wide receiver core is Chase Claypool, Lazard, Equanimeous St. Brown, who is probably the worst of the two St. Brown brothers, because I really am a fan of Amon-Ra. And fun fact, we were watching I had Amon-Ra on one of my fantasy teams last year, and the wife and I were watching football, and I was like, the St. Brown brothers. I was like, Amon-Ra, interesting name. And Leah was like, yeah, I wonder if they're really into Egypt. And I was like, well, if you look at their ages, were the parents really into Egypt, or did they just go see the Mummy in 1999 and then have kids and name them based on the 99 Mummy, not necessarily just being like Egyptologist? Because that movie was fire. Don't get me wrong. That movie was absolutely sick.
It's definitely the Mummy, bro.
And yeah, we looked it up, and the timeline fits. They went. They got their ass blown off by the Mummy 99, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, looking absolutely fire, like peak Rachel Weisz. The bald guy being all creepy, playing Imhotep, and they went home and they made babies, and then they named their babies Egypt names because everybody was into Egypt after they saw that fucking movie for like at least a year. So that's definitely what happened. But anyway, we got Equanimeous St. Brown. Now, another big thing we got to do. This is huge. We got to extend Darnell Mooney. We have to. He's the best chemistry receiver with Fields by far. He got injured in week 12, so shit happens. But we need to give him a full season we need to give Fields a full season with his favorite receiver. That's just the way it's got to work. I think I think Braxton Jones can still make it into the offensive line. I think we cut Cody Whitehair. He used to be awesome, but we've got Patrick at this point. We got Jalen Duncan out of the draft. We got Ben Powers, I mentioned. I think there was one more offensive lineman that I really wanted to. Orlando Brown Jr. Yeah, I already said him. So that offensive line is looking nice. That's given Justin Fields time to become the quarterback that I think that he can be. And I'm not looking to make the Bears into, like I said, I'm not looking to make them into like a 13-win team next season. I want them to win 10 games, best case scenario. And I think that if I go and I get all these guys with this great edge rusher, again, a rookie year, give him some space, with this great edge rusher, with a team built by the guys that were tasked and asked to come in here and build this team, finally with their own presence on it, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Eberflus is a defensive coach. He's got Okereke in there, which is his guy. He's starting to put his stamp and his identity on the team. And Poles trusts him and goes and gets some of the guys that he should, re-signs the players that should be re-signed, and you just at all costs with the big offensive line revamp, you protect Justin Fields and you make sure he plays a full healthy season. I want him to be one of the least sacked quarterbacks instead of one of the most sacked quarterbacks. I want him to be able to practice throwing the ball without having to run it when the play breaks down, and I want him to not get hurt. So if we can make that happen, we can start to turn this team into a winning team. It's going to all depend on what we do with that first pick. It's going to all depend on if players want to come here, come to Chicago. When I was a kid, it was a place that players wanted to be. I don't know if it is anymore. I don't know what the landscape looks like. That was the worst season in the history, statistically. And win-loss wise, that's the worst season in the history of me watching the Bears. And I think that what is interesting to point out is that's a good thing for me because, languishing in the middle is not a way to become a winning team, and all we've ever been is average. And that's the worst thing you can be, is not quite good enough and not quite shitty enough to do a full fucking rebuild. So here we are. We finally bit the bullet. We essentially tanked. We somehow got the first overall pick, and now we're in power position to improve the team. And I think they need to start doing it aggressively and right away. They need to spend that fucking salary cap. Make the smart cuts of the older guys like they've been doing. we'll get that second round pick that we traded for Claypool back if we get that Colts package that I'm talking about, dream scenario. Build that linebacker core out of free agency. Build the safeties, like, you know, put more young guys in the safety and in the whole secondary essentially, and get a good wide receiver in. Keep the running backs there and give Justin Fields a chance to succeed, which is the philosophy that I've been expounding on since we got the guy. It's like, I want to win and lose on this guy. I want to do it. And if he's not the guy, he's not the guy, but this is what I want to do. So with that being said, if I get everything I want on my wish list, Mike, do you think I get to my 10 wins? Now keep in mind the division that I'm in.
Yes.
I will be in an Aaron Rodgers-less, Kirk Cousins division. That's all I'm saying, right? Now, what the Vikings, I think, learned what we all already knew about themselves going into this next season. I think there might be like a we're good, but we're not that good kind of attitude around that place. I've seen it happen before. And I think that they have to know on some level that they're never going to get there with Kirk Cousins. No Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay, who are already worse. And Detroit. So, you know, I could see it. That's
listen, I
6 winnable games right there.
I think you're at 11 wins
in
an Aaron Rodgers NFC North, only because now this is a hot take, but it's a little bit of a callback to now 2.5 years ago. I think that the Lions are the best team in that division right now. Right now.
That's interesting. That is a hot take.
I think that Jared Goff and that offense have proven that they just need to get better on defense. But
it's easier said than done.
I think the Vikings are they're just shit. I mean,
yeah, they're not.
As long as Kirk Cousins is your quarterback, you will not do anything. I promise.
You can win as many regular season games against average teams as you want, but I agree. I mean, I do agree that the offense in the first half of the season for the Lions looked good, but it's tough for me to think that they're going to do anything but be Detroit again, because it's just they have never failed to do that for me. So it's just hard they've never ever not come through for me. That's just like a fact. They just always come through, no matter what the speculation is in the offseason going in. Oh, well, they did this. Oh, they have this new culture. Oh, they got this new guy. I've been listening to this for fucking years.
It is fair to, or you should note that the fact that this is the second best offensive squad that they have had in your entire fandom of the Bears.
Sure.
I mean, this is second to Stafford and Megatron.
Yeah, no, that's true. They were also like, you had Calvin Johnson and you couldn't do shit with it. And now I'm supposed to be scared of Jared Goff. I'm not going to wake up in the morning scared of Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins. I 100% believe that going into next season, knowing that Aaron Rodgers is going to be in probably New York, that the Bears have the best quarterback in that division. I know it for a fact. So for me, it's just like, that's the defining. I mean, yeah, I don't want to get 11 wins because everybody around me sucks either. You know, it's like, I want to go in and get challenged by that Detroit offense. I do. I also know they have the worst defense in the NFL. One of, maybe a little bit better than the Ravens, maybe a little bit better than the Texans, but they're terrible. So I'm not. How good that offense was, they lost so many games because they were just coughing up points. The Patriots fucking stepped on them too offensively, like they're, you know, from the Patriots perspective defensively, and figured out that offense pretty early in the season. And it did seem to throw them into a little bit of a schism. So I do think they're very beatable, but I guess I see your point, like on paper, but they do this. They flatter to deceive, Mike. They do this. This is what the Lions do. They trick you. They trick you into thinking that they might be good. But I mean, goddamn, I'm just so fucking happy to every time I read an article speculating where Aaron Rodgers is not going to be in Green Bay and he's going to be in fucking the Jets or somewhere anywhere else, Las Vegas. I have no idea. I'm sure Brady, like, officially retiring is throwing some sort of doubt into some of the landscape there. But yeah, I mean, if you're giving me 11 wins, that's fucking great. And I do want to obviously talk about it once we officially make all these moves, or like some of them or none of them or whatever happens. And we will do an official preview. But yeah, I think this is like a pretty decent wish list and a representation of the Bears fan base. I think that a lot of people would agree. I think the one sticking point for a lot of people is probably going to be not going to get a big name wide receiver. But I don't know if I want to break the bank on that yet. Maybe you just save a little salary cap. You wait until Stephon Diggs is sick of fucking not winning in Buffalo and his contract is up in a couple of years. And then Justin Fields is 25, 26, and he's legit and guys want to come catch for him. And that's when you go get your wide receiver. And that's the last piece is how I'm sort of picturing it. So, but you got to give them guys to throw to. So I think Lazard, Mooney, Claypool, Kmet, Montgomery, those are all good hands to throw to. So, don't yell at me, Bears fans. I know I can be a little conservative in these situations, but don't worry if you're concerned about conservative stuff. I have a feeling that Mike's going to hit you with a complete Patriots revamp. First on the agenda. Joe Montana's put through a time machine, and now he plays quarterback for the New England Patriots. No, please, Mike, take it away. What's happening with your New England Patriots this year?
All right. So the biggest needs going into 2023 for the Patriots are wide receiver, I would say safety, and offensive line help.
It must be nice to have like a needs list that isn't like just the whole team. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, the problem here is, Dave, is now that when you say things like that is, I'm assuming that the Patriots defense is as good as they looked to be last year. And I don't know that because we've been tricked now 4 straight years with them. But here's what I'm going to do. This is a setup for a bigger move. But the New England Patriots are going to trade their 3rd round pick, number 76 overall, their 4th round pick, 107th overall, and their next 4th round pick, 135th overall, to Bill Belichick's best friend, Josh McDaniels of the Las Vegas Raiders, for the 2nd round, number 30 overall pick. That's it. Just a swap because Bill loves his 2nd round picks. Next, we're going to trade Jonnu Smith and the number 14 overall pick for DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona wants to get rid of that awful cap hit for Hopkins. The Patriots have $93 million in cap space this year. So
that's actually a lot. The Bears have 99, and I thought that was a shitload. So
but
Belichick doesn't like going to get to DeAndre Hopkins is the world.
He loves DeAndre Hopkins.
I know, but he doesn't ever go do it. Like he did it with Moss, and that's it.
And he did it with Ocho Cinco, but only because Ocho Cinco got cut.
That was past. It was past his prime, though.
Yeah, well, that was So, but this is all realistic. So number 14 overall in Jonnu Smith, who makes $10.6 million a year for DeAndre Hopkins. So now that behooves the Arizona Cardinals to do that. Okay. So now they have D-Hop. I'm then going to trade my 2 second round picks and a 4th round pick for T. Higgins.
Wow, you're going to get both of them.
It's all doable based on the cap. I read the numbers here. By the way, I spent 4 hours doing a draft simulator to figure out if these trades would actually go through, and they would.
Oh, all right. I mean, I guess my first question is like, the way I kind of posed my rebuild as like, this is based around Justin Fields, where he's going to be next year, where he's going to be in like a couple of years. Is this you basically saying that like, if you give Mac Jones those 2 guys, you could win a Super Bowl?
Well, no. So this is my ask of them and my desire of them to get to 12 to 13 wins. They were 8-9 last year, so this will increase their win total by about 4 to 5 wins. And I'm also operating under the assumption that Jacoby Myers is gone, and I don't want that. But
what about Nelson Aguilar? Is he still in your receiver?
No, he's gone.
Okay, cool.
So your receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, T. Higgins, Devontae Parker, and then Tyquan Thornton to round out your number 4. You got rid of Jonnu Smith. Hunter Henry is back. So
you're gonna need him.
Yeah, you've been paying Jonnu Smith $10 million a year for the last 2 years to be a fucking offensive lineman,
right?
For no reason. Okay, yeah. So that's all that I'm going to do in the draft because now I've pretty much used all their picks. With those 2 things happening, the Patriots still have $58 million of cap space for next year. I am signing safety Jordan Poyer from Buffalo. He is 6'1", 192 pounds, and we don't. Yeah, we don't need the shell of Devin McCourty coming back. Even if he does whatever, he can't play every snap. So now you have a fast, athletic safety who, by the way, 47 solo tackles, 4 picks, and he only allowed 16 receptions on him in man coverage all last year. So you solidified that. There's some overlap here, DK. I'm going to sign Ben Powers because
Yeah, I mean it's a good signing. I mean, I looked at kind of cheap like cost essentially of like a lot of my big like line rebuilds and like obviously I saved money a little bit in the secondary by just going like go and get me some young guys and we'll just have a little secondary competition, which I had to do. But like Ben Powers isn't super expensive, you know, like there's a lot of talent out there at guard, at tackle, like a surprising amount, I should say, in the free agency that you can go and revamp yourself a nice offensive line, which I think you do need a little bit of work on, probably not as much as me, but I like Ben Powers. I hope we get him instead of you, but I'm glad that it was at least an informed decision on both of our parts.
Right. So now with those with just those moves, you've now transformed your offense. So your starting quarterback, who, by the way, I'm keeping as Mac Jones because I do believe that if you surround him with talent like he was in Alabama, he can be a very, very, very good quarterback. So now you have Mac Jones, Ramondre Stevenson. Then you have him throwing to Hopkins, T. Higgins, Devontae Parker, Tyquan Thornton, and Hunter Henry. And now he's being protected by Ben Powers. So literally all the problems that were happening in the 2022 season, right? When you really think about it, yes, the offensive line was bad, but the offensive line, I think that Mac Jones was sacked about 15 more times than he needed to be because his option B was already covered. So Matt Patricia's offense was very simple. You have 1 or 2 options. I think with Billy O'Brien coming back here, that now that they're at least going to have a plan C and D.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was going to mention the fact that, you know, I think had we done this show right after the end of the season, the first thing that would have come up when talking about the Patriots is that you had to gut that coaching room.
Yep.
From, you know, below Bill down, essentially. And there would have been no point in doing this show without the idea that, like, you know, Bill O'Brien coming back, I think is good. Anybody would have been better than
you, me
at offensive coordinator. It was an absolute joke. I still have this thing about Bill Belichick in my head where like everything he does still seems on purpose, you know, and it's just like, yeah, fuck it. We gave the guy a job for a year. This year wasn't going to be anything, you know, like he's looking 2 years in the future, maybe anyway. Bill O'Brien comes back. You got a better, I mean, it's probably the best coaching revamp of the offseason, if we're being honest. And then you're watching Las Vegas, you know, go all in on Josh McDaniels, like cut Derek Carr before his bonus, the day before his bonus comes up or whatever those numbers were. And you're like, oh, you're going all in on that guy. Okay, cool. And you guys did that coaching shuffle. You already had Bill Belichick, and like, yeah, if you put those 2 guys on the Patriots with Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, I think that's a little bit of a different team. It's a completely different team.
My theory is that if you put enough star power or just competent players on the offensive side, and you do have a competent offensive play caller, Bill can get back to doing the things that he was doing in the Super Bowl against the Falcons when you're down 28-3, and he wasn't even watching the offense play. He was coaching the defense. His strength is still coaching the defense. If he has to dabble at fucking all in offensive play calling, we're screwed. Mm-hmm. Absolutely screwed. Mm-hmm. Also, I was thinking to myself about instead of DeAndre Hopkins, going to get Jerry Jeudy. The problem though there is that Sean Payton, there's one thing that he likes to do more than rehabilitating quarterbacks. It's having a star wide receiver. I don't see him letting go of a young Jerry Jeudy.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I think everybody wants Jerry Jeudy. I think that's the best scenario for a lot of people, but I don't see why Payton would fuck himself like that going into his first year in a new team. Although there's a lot of work to be done there. So like maybe you do just completely start over.
Here's my second hot take though. I think one of the biggest moves that the Patriots could do, and I don't know if they will, is keep Joe Judge on the staff and just move him back to special teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there
Interesting.
were 4 kick returns for a touchdown last year, and the Patriots let up 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a weird season watching them be like coached badly. Um, I don't know if you like necessarily blame Bill Belichick. I think there's a lot of reactionary people
Yes.
out there that are like,
Well, but to your point though, if you think that he does everything on purpose, then you have to blame him. You
well,
have to.
I mean, I guess the question then is like, what's the blame then? Because you're telling me that you're going into this season with a shit ton of cap space. What are your drafts like? What are your picks like? Do you have any?
Based off of what I just did,
Yeah.
no. But in reality, the Patriots had the 14th overall pick, the
No,
46th,
sure, but you have none left after you make these trades. So you're going off of
No,
stock.
well, no. So here, what I'm doing is I'm sticking to Belichick's strength and picking from the 5th round on, because
Right.
when
Because you
he
don't want
drafts,
Bill Belichick making picks in this draft.
no,
You're on the record as saying that he's not a good GM. So if he trades these picks away, you don't have to watch another Patriots first, second, third round drafting,
I
and
don't have to
you
watch
get
him.
made
Okay,
in made, ready-made wide receivers.
right? Yeah, I don't have to watch him pick N'Keal Harry over DK Metcalf.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough look. Nothing's ever going to be as bad as trading up for Mitch Trubisky and not getting Pat Mahomes though. So yeah,
Quarterbacks are no. I think so. Here's the difference for me. You can either catch and run a route, or you can't.
right.
That's it. College quarterbacks can be inflated by the team around them.
Well, I don't know because like N'Keal Harry's now on the Bears, and I've seen him make some plays, and I just sort of feel
Name
like.
three. Name three.
I mean, we didn't have a ton of highlights at the wide receiver position last season, but he made some catches. He didn't look
Yeah.
to me like I remember watching him on the Patriots comparatively. He looked like he shouldn't be in the NFL the last season he was playing in New England. And then the few times he came out to catch the ball, I mean, expectations are different. Context is very different. We took a punt on him. It's fine. He doesn't get on the field very often either, which is a problem. But I don't know. He was all right. He had some decent hands. He actually did make one really good deep catch for a touchdown late in the season, probably like week 15 or 16. And I remember you commenting about it. But his route running probably does leave a little bit to be desired. And I can understand why you've reached the level you've reached with N'Keal Harry. So I don't want to poke that. I don't want to poke that boil anymore. But that's the best wide. If you make those trades, that's the best wide receiver core the Patriots have ever had, just for the record.
So not to go down Patriot memory lane, but I don't know if it's better than 07.
You mean like Randy Moss,
Wes Welker, Dante
Stallworth. I feel like D Hop is like comparable. He's a top 3 wide receiver. When's the last time you had one of those? He's one of the best 3 wide receivers in the NFL. Last time you had one of those,
Julian Edelman.
Different type of guy though. You know what I mean? It's like it's a different. And T Higgins, like you then have one of the top 3 wide receiver 2s in the entire NFL right there. So right. That's, I mean, it's arguable. There's a discussion to be had. There's definitely a discussion to be had. I think that discussion probably ends when you remember then that Tom Brady was thrown to that 07 core and Mac Jones is thrown to this current one that you've outlined for us. But it would make Mac Jones look like a top 8 quarterback potentially. If this, he could be the 8th best quarterback statistically at the end of next season if you make these changes.
Let me ask you another follow-up question to that.
Sure.
Before I ask you if you think that this gets me to my win total. Can you name a better number 3 wide receiver in the league than Devontae Parker?
No, that would be huge. I mean, I would make the argument in Minnesota if Thielen's the wide receiver 3 over there, but he didn't have a great year last year.
Well, yeah, but Hawkinson's not a wide receiver; he's a tight end. You can't.
We can't count. We're not just counting hands. Like Kelsey doesn't count in Kansas City. Because like in that case, he basically plays receiver, and that makes their 3rd wide receiver Valdez Scantling, who's like pretty fucking good.
I would say that Travis Kelce is their best pass catcher,
right?
But on the depth chart, wide receiver,
if we're splitting hairs,
which we are.
Can I name a better 3rd wide receiver? Who's the 3rd guy in Miami after Tyreek Hill and
Waddle?
Like his name, Jalen Waddle. Because like those are because that's a great top 2.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. You're doing great at wide receiver at this point. And you're kind of going the opposite way that I'm going, because I'm building from the inside out. I'm building back a core. I'm making them young. I'm putting them together. I'm making them athletic. I'm making them explosive. But no one's standing out hugely except that maybe edge rush and defensive tackle. Those are my big, drafting and signings. You're going for splashes.
But I would say that the difference here, between these splashes and what happened with the Patriots 2 years ago, is 2 years ago Bill Belichick spent $195 million of guaranteed money to already make splashes. So right. there already is a core. Like the Bears are I would say they're in different positions
for sure,
but a better one, because they're so young and the expectations, that this isn't a knock, are a little bit lower, that you can build from the inside, and then you become like a I hope for you, like a Chiefs-like team in 4 years. Where that's all of your homegrown talent, and now now that your entire roster is playing on their fourth out of their fifth-year contract.
Yeah, right? and also, it's not an easy task, but put in the context of where the Patriots are, it's an easier task than that, right? Because, I mean, look, if Justin Fields doesn't pan out, I think he's good, but there's still obviously people that doubt him. I think there's a ton of arm talent there personally. And I know that it's going to live and die on that. It's not going to be, he's not going to go and win you a Super Bowl based on how good his highlights scrambling after the play breaks down look like. It's not going to be the case. But if he's that fucking dangerous as a runner and he can learn to really pass the ball, and Eberflus builds a defense, then, watch out. But it's kind of a blank slate. You know what I mean? Like, you're drawing a picture, you're trying to edit a picture that already exists, and a culture that already exists, and kind of starting fresh does feel a little bit better, I think, because you don't want to be stuck in the middle forever.
Can I ask you a kind of an off-topic question?
Yeah.
If you had the chance to trade Justin Fields for whatever draft capital or whatever wide receiver you could get, right? Would you bring in Lamar? Like, would you rather have Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields?
No, I would rather have Justin Fields.
Thank Christ you said
there's that. There's just no world in which I want Lamar Jackson instead of Justin Fields. And it's not because I think Lamar Jackson's a bad quarterback. It's based a ton on the fact that, I'm just being pragmatic. Like, I don't want to give up like how much he's looking for a fully guaranteed contract in Baltimore. He's gonna go and ask them for a full guarantee on his contract. I never want to give that to a player ever. There's no player in which I would ever give that to. He's basing it off of the absolutely bananas contract that the Browns gave to fucking Rub and Tug, and the entire the entire quarterback contract scales being fucked up from that. I don't want to be I don't want to bear the brunt of that with my franchise. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm not going to give him a fully guaranteed contract. Also, Justin Fields is still in his rookie contract. Like, that's just a no-brainer to me. Also, again, it's got nothing to do with Lamar's talent, but what are we going to do that Baltimore didn't? It's because I am critical about what Baltimore kind of put around him. I think that they really let the ass fall out of that team, and they tried to kind of patch it up towards the end. But now I'm looking at what his money demands are, and I'm like, I'm not sure you want to win, dude, because I don't think if you ask a team for that contract that they're going to be realistically able to put a good team around you. I just don't know how you have to get really lucky with a lot of draft picks if you want to make a team really good when $200 million of your salary cap is guaranteed to Lamar Jackson. And then there's a chance if he gets hurt or he gives up and he doesn't want to play anymore and Russell Wilson's your fucking team, then and all that money's guaranteed. Like, there's no year where you can cut him in the offseason and get some of that money back so you can actually start trying to make moves to be a winning team again. The fuck out of here, dude. It's not going to work. Also, the biggest problem in Chicago is that everyone still goes to the goddamn games. There's no world in which you're not packing out Soldier fucking Field every week. So a lot of the time, a lot of the criticism is maybe that the owners, sweet old lady that she is, and the Hallis family, like, that have owned the Bears forever, are not motivated by anything because, like, they're not going to make that much more money if they're if their team, because, like, we pack out the stadium every single week and everybody buys the merch and there's Chicago Bears fans all over the world. It's not a small franchise, but that won't last forever. As loyal as the fan base is, that just won't last forever. So Lamar Jackson comes in, takes all that guaranteed money, and then just fucking takes a shit and like walks away, I would be up at night. I would be up at night if we signed him to that contract. I would not be able to sleep. I'd be staring at the ceiling, thinking about what a terribly irresponsible move that would be for my franchise. And I feel the same way about the Baltimore Ravens. They should not give him guaranteed money. Like, that's crazy.
Wholeheartedly agree, just for different reasons. I think
You don't think he's that good? You don't think he's that good?
I don't. I think he is that good in the regular season. I think you can figure him out in the postseason.
Yeah,
and I think history is on my side there.
Yeah, there's a definite argument to be made for that fact. But
I do have a question, just as an innocent bystander, knowing that your skill position isn't that great, right? So,
well, I mean, I think it's like I said, I think it's a little underrated. I think Chase Claypool can make an impact this season. I think Darnell Mooney can have a better season than he had last season. I think David Montgomery's a top 10, probably 11th best running back. You know,
I think Claypool could be a really good number one if he had a solid number two. And I think Tooney's the best I think one of the best number threes out there. My question to you is, knowing that Juju Smith-Schuster was only making $3 million a year in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Why wouldn't you take a flyer on him as your number two?
Oh, I would take him. Yeah, no problem.
Right? Because then
is he available? I didn't see him on any free agency.
He's a free agent.
I thought they were going to trade him back or sign him back. I mean,
they haven't.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Well, they can't. Free agency starts on the 10th,
right,
or the 14th. But I mean, if in your fantasy world,
yeah, I would take him. No problem.
Because that's the thing that
Allen Lazard, or you take them both.
Okay, so that's the thing I've been wrestling with myself too, right? Is that sounds naughty, but like if he made $3 million this year and he had a pretty good year,
yeah.
Let's just assume that he's.
It's not even that much of a flyer. Like, he got better as the year went on.
Let's just assume that he wants to make like double or even triple that, $9 million a year.
Yeah,
$9 million.
And if Michael Thomas is 10, I'm taking Juju at 9 over Michael Thomas at 10. You know what I mean? Like,
all day.
That's a no-brainer. That's an absolute no-brainer. Yeah, I would definitely take that. And actually, I like the look of the skill positions if we get Juju in. I know my fantasy skill positions are a little underwhelming, but again, I'm trying to limit pressure.
They're practical.
I'm trying to limit pressure on Fields. What I don't want is I don't want 10,000 tweets to the effect of, oh my God, you gave him DeAndre Hopkins and look like he threw 2 picks today. Like, I don't want that. Like, he's 23. We're in the age of the fucking internet. He needs a little time to get used to the place. We need to give him a full season of being fully protected by a good offensive line so he can like learn the X's and O's, up his completion percentage. Like, I know this is going to sound a little preposterous, but I genuinely believe that he could have what probably shouldn't be, but definitely is the qualities of an NFL MVP season. Like, what you want, what the NFL decides is the most valuable player of the regular season, to me, is not what I don't think what the award should be. Like, I like the parameters of what they clearly think is the MVP, or how they clearly decide is like not what I think. I think the best player of the season should get MVP. I think that there's a definite perspective in the NFL where it's like, I think there's a little bit of a popularity contest that goes into it. I think there's a little bit of a highlights contest that go into it. I think it's like, who is the most exciting, who sold the most jerseys. Like, the NFL is a well-oiled machine. Like, naming an MVP is an algorithm for them, and that's just a fact. I think that Tom Brady, you know, he has what I call the LeBron James curse. I think that Tom Brady could have won 10 MVPs. To be perfectly honest with you, if you look back on those seasons and you go, why were the Patriots good? Who was their most valuable player? And who was who was the most valuable player to their team? You know, who would need, even look at it even more literally, who would need the most value traded for them to go get them? Who would need the most things traded for them to go get them? So Pat Mahomes, in my mind, has been the MVP for the last 5 years. Yeah. But not on those parameters. I could see Justin Fields having a fucking bananas season where he's on the fucking Sports Center top 10 every week, and the NFL goes, "Ooh, those Justin Fields jerseys are selling like hotcakes. Oh shit, those are our editors are having a real easy time cutting together promos for like these games. We got to get him on national television. We got to give him the MVP award." And I could see it happening. So yeah, he has a guy like Juju, those skill positions, that kind of stuff. Also, we would ask him to do something very different than Kansas City asked him to do. We would ask him to be himself, I think, a little bit more like how he was in Pittsburgh. I would be excited about that, definitely.
And also in my mind, I'm trying to sell you on this. If you have a solid borderline number 2, number 1 receiver like Juju, you've now taken the pressure off of Claypool.
Yeah.
You've now allowed.
Well, I think to your point, honestly, about Claypool, to your point, I don't think he's a number 1, but I think in reverse, I think he could be a really great number 2 if we got a really good number 1 in there, if that makes more sense.
Right.
Like I don't think he's a number 1 wide receiver, to be honest.
If you have Claypool, Juju, and Tooney on the field, you can't double either of them.
That's true. I mean, we've already seen that work. We've literally already seen that work with like a fucking floppy arm Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And then, but then to your point, to protect Fields, Kmet's there.
Yeah,
like just like Kmet take all the underneath routes all year long.
Yeah.
But that will increase. That will increase.
Give him that draw. Give him that check down. Option. Give him that check down option. Give him the run pass option. Run a zone run.
Right.
You know, with the offensive lineman, I'm talking about going again. Yeah, we could be at least fun to watch. I mean, we were fun to watch last year just because of Justin Fields. It'd be nice for them to be fun to watch because of a few guys. Yeah, I'm with you. Let me ask you this: redraft Mac Jones and Justin Fields draft again. You still want Justin Fields, or now that
dude,
but now you put all those guys around Mac Jones.
This keyboard right here is a replacement keyboard because I smashed the other one when the Bears traded up to draft Justin Fields. So yes, I think there was this whole like, oh, there's never been a good Ohio State quarterback. Sure, there hasn't been a Justin Fields in a very long time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's so stupid too. It's like there isn't a good quarterback to come out of that college until there is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's
right. And everyone's like, oh well, Mac Jones threw for 4,500 yards and amazing completion percentage. Look at who he had.
Yeah,
Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. I mean,
yeah, but give him some weapons in the NFL. Your point is a valid
right.
one. You know, you got to put him in those not the same circumstances, but if he's proven a couple of things, which is I think that his mind works at an NFL level. I think that his arm talent can make him serviceable, but I agree with you, not in a situation where he doesn't have anybody. He's not. There's 4 or 5 guys that can be great without any real weapons, you know, like, and I think that the problem in New England is that you had one of those guys for 2 decades.
Right.
And I think that people's brains are not adjusting to the fact that you don't have that anymore. And a lot of people look at Mac Jones and say, like, just be better. Just be Tom Brady. You know
but also like,
it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, dude.
I'm not like, this isn't reimagining the wheel, right? The top SEC quarterbacks in college usually falter when they go to the NFL because they don't have talent around them.
Sure.
The 2 most prominent quarterbacks out of the SEC.
Well, in reverse though, right? They don't falter because they don't have talent around them. They're asked to do a thing that they've never had to do before because all the best skill position players came out of teams they either played against or played for, right? So they're asked to do a new thing. So it's a little bit more difficult to judge what kind of quarterback they're going to be. But then they're kind of hung with those, like he's a victim of his own success in a way with those stats that he came out of college with. Yeah, like I feel like a lot of people would have thrown for those numbers with the guys that he had around him. But why not? To your point, why not put guys around him again? See how that works.
So, but there's a reason why, like one of the best college quarterbacks of all time, like or the best college quarterbacks of all time, Tim Tebow, is out of the league. AJ McCarron out of the league. Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow are still in the league. Why? Deshaun Watson was drafted by the Houston Texans. Had D-Hop and Will Fuller. Will Fuller cannot stay healthy, but when he is healthy, he's fucking electric. Joe Burrow.
I wouldn't say that his weapons were the only reason he was good in Houston, to be honest. I think it's a little reductionist. Yeah, I do.
He had Arian Foster like at the height of his powers, Hopkins at the height of his powers, and Will Fuller, who nobody fucking knew who that guy was.
Yeah. Okay. So I think he was also an explosive athlete, like an unbelievable runner. Was probably got better from his last year in college to his first year in the NFL. Like he wasn't a fucking scrub, you know what I mean? He even had a good game in Cleveland last year. So that might work out still. So
it's fair to say, right? It's fair to say.
And Joe Burrow also, like, but to your point about Joe Burrow,
Chase,
he brought his guy with him. Like that's the thing to do. Like you could use that model. Use that model of like when was the, and it seems overly simple, honestly, but like I think a lot of times the NFL teams might be a little bit of victims of their own like over analysis. It's like put him in the situation where he was successful before. Like it's a completely valid point because Joe Burrow, yeah, like he's great. I'm not knocking Joe Burrow. I think he's going to win a fucking Super Bowl sooner rather than later. I think in the next 3 years we see a Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl. To be perfectly honest with you,
probably 5 years before Josh Allen does.
I don't know if Josh Allen's ever winning a Super Bowl, but I'm going to save those takes for next season.
You just give me a boner.
It's not honestly the telltale, the necrosis that is set into that Bills team is worrying. I would be worried. I think that there's some people have evaluated and pinpointed things to make them lose in key situations, and it's not a good look for Josh Allen. And he needs to get his head right. But anyway, it's not what we're talking about. Point being, I think Mac Jones is above average as a quarterback. I think he's got arm talent. I think his best talent, and I think this is why the Patriots drafted him, is that he's smart. I think that he makes good decisions. I think he gets quick-sanded from time to time. And I do think that like he definitely does have that like if it starts going wrong, then it goes really wrong thing. But I think to your point, you can put him in a position where it just never starts going wrong. Because Belichick sort of started protecting him from that anyway, right? Like he hasn't let him hang himself in a while. So sometimes there was a lot of pressure too. I think the protection you're going to provide him is helpful. But yeah, I mean, I think it could be reduced down to like give anybody those two guys and they're going to have a good season. But I do think that Mac Jones is exactly the guy to benefit from that.
But like it's the guy to benefit again. From that. It's proven though. Like we as we just talked about, I would say Watson, Burrow. I would say Jalen Hurts. You surround him with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Perfect.
A lot of talent on that Eagles team.
Tua.
Yeah.
Tua. You bring in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like they're for quarterbacks that have been around top tier talent their entire lives, and you've seen how good they can be. Your duty, if you can do it as a GM or a head coach, is to do that in the NFL.
I agree. All right, we got a couple minutes left, and I just want to end on this last question. We've talked about the Bears offseason. We've talked about the Patriots offseason. We've made the Bears and the Patriots into the two best teams that ever assembled. Now, one thing we were going to do before Bobby couldn't make it was we were going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and what he wanted to do. I want your opinion. I know you didn't prep for this, but like roughly, what would you do for Bob? Just for, shout out to our friend who couldn't make it to do the show with us tonight. What would you do for Bobby's team? What would you do for the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason? Because my first step would be shoot Dak Prescott, kidnap Ezekiel Elliott's lawyer, and get him to draft a contract that gets them out of that terrible, terrible guaranteed money contract they're looped into with him. And honestly, they need to go get those guys you're talking about for New England. I don't know if they can, but like, goddamn, that receiving core is terrible. What would you do over there?
So I would sign OBJ.
Yeah, I think they're going to do that.
I would trade Ezekiel Elliott, your first round pick and your second round pick, for DK Metcalf.
Ooh, you think they do that? You think Seattle would do that? I mean, they need to rebuild, I guess.
And well, as long as Seattle, as long as they sign Geno, I think they're fine.
Yeah.
And then honestly, if we're just spitballing here, I would trade Dak Prescott for Aaron Rodgers.
You think that they would do that straight up?
I think that Dallas needs to win now. And if Green Bay has already established the fact that they're not going to be in a winning mode right now, Dak Prescott is better than Jordan Love.
They have to change that whole offense if they get Aaron Rodgers in there. They have to start running like a full-blown West Coast offense.
It's Mike McCarthy, dude.
Yeah, but they already don't like each other.
It's
going to be that same offense that already didn't work in Green Bay.
Except for the time that it did.
Yeah, because everybody else sucked. Like a fucking Jay Cutler almost knocked them out of the fucking NFC Championship game.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. You have Aaron Rodgers, Pollard, OBJ, CeeDee Lamb, and that same defense. They're at least getting to the NFC title game.
it's going to be hilarious. Like, it's going to be so good for content because, like,
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is like so dysfunctional in his own brain, and the Dallas Cowboys are just like such drama queens that, like, I just think it would be hilarious.
What would you
I
do?
would have
So
no idea. It could go really well, like on paper, talent wise. Yeah, there's a lot of talent there, but goddamn, that could go tits up so fast.
what would you do?
I would, to be perfectly honest, do whatever you could to get Ezekiel Elliott out of there. Make Tony Pollard the RB1. That's your first priority. Second priority is go get just some names, just some bodies at wide receiver. You have CeeDee Lamb in there. That's good. You sign OBJ. I think that's a good call. Go get Lazard if he's available.
Or Jacoby Myers.
Or Jacoby Myers. Get some guys, run them through the practice squad. Like, see what fucking Aguilar's up to. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. They don't need to be nasty. Just like you need to like fill out that wide receiver room. Like, it's necessary.
By the way, that's the number one wide receiver room in the league according to Bobby in August. But like, don't.
It was August though. Lots happened since.
It was still just CeeDee Lamb. Don't touch the defense.
No, don't touch the defense. Leave the defense alone. Extend who you need to extend or whatever. And then I would trade Dak Prescott if you can. It would be a blockbuster. I would trade Dak Prescott to somewhere. No, I didn't prep for this. So off the top of my head,
it's your question, but
I would trade Dak to, because it's tough. You can't trade a quarterback for a wide receiver, really, because
I know
the quarterback's going to be like, well, what the fuck? It's like, why would you trade away my weapons and like expect me to do good? So maybe you could work something. You get rid of Dak.
To give you more time to think about this, let me just ask you a question. Do you think that Dak for Aaron Rodgers would go through?
I feel like that would be really favorable to the Cowboys. But if the Packers wanted to do that, then like more power to you, I guess. But I think to me, it's you trade Dak for some pieces, some offensive pieces, wherever that might be, and you just sign Derek Carr.
Oh.
He's not worse than Dak Prescott.
Jimmy G.
Sure. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Derek Carr is worse than Dak Prescott.
I don't know if he is.
You do know that he is.
I don't know.
You've seen it. Like, you've seen seasons of him.
I just Dak Prescott's fucking so average. Like, he's just so they're the same. Like he's
right.
So
but because he's a Cowboy quarterback, but because by the Cowboys, because he's the Cowboy quarterback, he's inflated. I promise you, if you strip away the fact he's a Cowboy, like if Dak Prescott was the quarterback of the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars and Derek Carr was the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, you would say that Dak Prescott is better than Derek Carr.
All right, maybe Derek Carr. He's pretty terrible. But yeah, Jimmy G. I don't know. That doesn't work. It's something like fizzes in my head when I think about Jimmy G as the Cowboys quarterback. It doesn't make any sense.
But like an injury-prone, like good-looking guy as a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, that doesn't feel like it's fate.
Yeah, I feel like they need to get rid of Dak. I really do. I think it's time.
Yes,
it's like you're wasting your time at this point. And if you don't want to do a full rebuild and you want to try and win with that defense, you just get someone comparable in there, like not even comparable, like somebody that's just going to guide your team to success. Like Jimmy G would be perfect. I was thinking you could ask Derek Carr to just like not do too much, like hand the ball off a lot. I don't think you're paying him what they were paying him in Las Vegas, even close at this point. So like, great. You get him on the cheap, probably cheaper than Dak. Give him a few weapons, like you said. Yeah, Jimmy G would be a better signing. I agree. Plus, what's the backup's name? He was pretty good. He had a couple of pretty good games because of how good the defense. I forget the fucking backup's name
it's not Danucci because he's in the XFL now.
No, he did pretty good for a couple of games this year. Hold on, is he still there?
Dallas. All I know is it's 2023. I don't know if this could happen, but I'm pretty sure this conversation is going to give Bobby a contraction.
Cooper Rush. Yeah, get Cooper Rush in there. He was fine. He was fine. You're building around your defense. You trade Dak, use that money to make the defense even better.
I mean, didn't the Bears have the best defense in the league in 2006, and they had Kyle Orton?
We had the best defense in the league in 2006. We had Rex Grossman.
Didn't Kyle Orton start the Super Bowl?
No, Rex Grossman started the Super Bowl, and we lost because of Rex Grossman.
Right. So like,
It's not the
if you
same
build
thing. It's not the same thing. It's not. We played against
it's
Peyton Manning. He was on a fucking mission to he came back against the Patriots that year. We weren't winning that game. Didn't matter who was that fucking quarterback. But that defense got us there. I think, I mean, you've seen the transformation over the last couple of years of what gets you to a ship now is you need to be able to rush. You need to be able to put pressure on the quarterback with 3 guys. Dallas can do that. They can full on do that. And I don't think that they need anyone special at quarterback to win. I think that we're past the point of needing one of the best quarterbacks in the league to win a Super Bowl. Although Patrick Mahomes is the best one, right, and he just won. But still.
To that point, before you wrap it up, just to send Bobby over a fucking cliff. I agree with you that you don't need the best quarterback in the league. If you can offload Dak for a plethora of draft picks or a skill position,
yeah,
but you still have one of the 2 people that we just named as wide receiver, either OBJ, you pick Matt Ryan.
No, oh my god,
why?
Because I think that the day that Matt Ryan actually blows another lead in a Super Bowl and he's the Cowboys quarterback, I think that the universe. Like he's in another championship game after that college game against Virginia Tech, and then
Sure.
the worst comeback defeat in the history of the Super Bowl, and then he does it for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that Bobby's rage makes the universe implode, and that's how life as we know it is extinct. It's because Matt Ryan was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys one year.
Fair.
Yeah, all right. I mean, that'd be fun though. That'd be fun to watch.
So fun.
Yeah, I think Jimmy G would be a best case scenario in there. What about you guys getting Jimmy G with all those fucking weapons that you want? No, it's not. You're just sticking with Mac, the Mac attack.
Okay, so Mac is a proven winner when he has talent around him. So just put talent around him, and he'll win. And he'll win.
Yeah, and Jimmy G's not going to stay healthy, so like you don't really want to you don't want to hang your hat on that on that guy. It's proven at this point he will get hurt. Correct. All right, cool. Well, I think we both made our teams better. Hopefully, when I send this recording over to our respective GMs, they take a listen. But that was a fun, be a GM for the day. And well, I'll let Bobby know we did the Cowboys, even though he wasn't here, and we didn't treat him nice. We didn't take him out to dinner. We didn't even put any lube on. We just fucked him. So sorry, Dak.
Although we made his team better though. Either way.
Yeah, that's going to be hard for him to accept, but that's definitely true. All right, Mike. Well, thanks for coming in. This has been another edition of the Missing the Point Football Show, formerly the Power Ranking Show, then the Playoff Show, then the Super Bowl Preview Show. Now it's the Fuck Our Team Suck Show, and this is how we make them better.
Let's talk about it.
And keep listening for all your Celtics, Bruins, NHL, NBA, NFL needs. And this week I'm also going to put up a MMA preview show that I'm almost done prepping. I'm going to record it tomorrow for the big John Jones, Cyril Gane heavyweight title for the world UFC fight this weekend. So give a listen to that. Check my oil. And thanks so much for listening. Good night.